I get it. Some people don't like the idea of falling down the rabbit hole and spending untold amounts of money on a ride that never stops. Maybe you're looking to find the watch to end all watches and either win the jackpot on the first try, or you're just counting your losses and cashing out. If you think you've got what it takes to call it quits, then here are 10 watches of all budgets I reckon you could do it with. If our criteria here is to have this be the last watch you ever buy, and the budget to do that is just £350, well, first of all, you set me a challenge even Bear Grylls wouldn't drink the piss of, and secondly, it's just got to be a Seiko. They've got the history, they've got the quality, they've got the value, and to be frank, pound for pound, I don't think there's a better watchmaker in existence. And whatever excuse is needed to bring back the original Seiko 5 sports watch, I'm all for it. So that's a celebration of 55 years of this gorgeous relic of the late 1960s, the first watch to brave all 5 challenges of Seiko 5, automatic winding, water resistance, a day and date display, durable case, and recessed 4 o'clock crown. Well, like an OCD Santa, the Seiko 5 Sports Heritage is the gift that keeps on giving because it's got all that and more. Ask a lot of people about Tag Heuer, especially the entry level, and you'll probably get the same response you would have done if you'd asked their favourite flavour of dog food. You might hear sentiments like overpriced fashion brand and over my dead body, stuff like that. So why include the Tag Heuer Aquaracer in this list, a watch that starts in quartz at £1,850? Because not only is it a very well made thing that will last longer than you will, especially if you keep up that lifestyle, it's actually the biggest bang for the buck branding you'll see in watchmaking. Where else can you get a watch from a brand founded in 1860 that changed the face of motorsport and was worn on screen by one of the coolest people to have ever existed? Nowhere. That's where the Tag Heuer Aquaracer is the perfect watch for someone who just wants a nice watch from a great brand that they can keep and wear forever. If your criteria for an endgame watch is that it has to wow the pants off everyone in the room with a dazzling display of suave charisma that makes Cary Grant look like an incel, that must have a complication so bold and visual that it can literally stop a conversation, that must also cost a shade under £2,000. Well, you're lucky because Christopher Ward has got your back with the new C1 Moonphase. Encased in 40.5mm of polished and brushed steel is a Moonphase complication just ever so slightly smaller than the real moon, set against a starry aventurine sky, whose sparkle could give a unicorn fairy princess a run for its money. The real magic is in the dual layer of aventurine, with the colossal loomed moon set against more of the spangly stuff, so it blends perfectly with the rest of the dial. It's so accurate that, just like the real night sky, if you try to capture the beauty you see with your eyes on camera, it comes out crap. If you have endgame eyes for Patek Philippe but an endgame budget for Longines, you may have already reconciled the miserable realization that there can be no endgame for you. It's one of life's hardest first world lessons, the realization that time is fast running out to get the career that will pay for the things you dreamt of in your 20s. But I'm here to tell you that it isn't over until the 16760 sings. That's because the kind and charitable people at Longines have made their version of the famed 1930s sector dial design to compete with Patek Philippe's 5296. Oh boo, you say, with the petulance of a hormonal teenager. Longines ain't no Patek Philippe. Newsflash, Longines was founded 7 years before Patek Philippe, and so when you finally succumb to the £2,350 Heritage Classic sector dial, you can tuck that little factoid in your pocket to slap your Patek wearing friends down the pub. Okay, real talk. If you're willing to pay what it takes to get the watch to end all watches, the true endgame timepiece that is your one and done forever and to eternity, then this is it. The Rolex Explorer. Not the 6'4" simple cousin, the Explorer 2, but the original, the classic Explorer. Yes, you could call it an overpriced, overdressed Oyster Perpetual, a fraud that's been to the top of Everest precisely as many times as my old nan, even a boring paper towel of a watch with all the excitement of a digestive biscuit, but regardless, it may well be the perfect forever watch. It'll take whatever you can throw at it. It'll never fall out of fashion. It'll work with whatever situation you can think of, whether it's cave diving or painting the skirting board. And most importantly, it'll always be a Rolex. You just can't underestimate that. If my nonsensical rhetoric has made you smile, then perhaps you'd also enjoy some of my merch, available below the video. When you purchase something, you'll get a personal video from me saying thank you. You can also pick up one of my novels on Amazon, link in the description. If your budget's been mopped up by watches, however, a like, comment, and a subscribe would also be amazing. Thank you. Imagine if a watchmaker really, and I mean really, tried. Like, they took a watch that everyone thought was great and polished that thing until it was perfect. Well, that's exactly what Omega have done, figuratively and literally, with the Speedmaster Ed White. It's a replica of the watch worn by astronaut Ed White during the first American spacewalk, except this time, instead of giving the rendition a good old Swiss try, Omega has committed to an almost obsessive level. There's no crown guards, it has the classic applied metal logo, the vintage script, a subtle hint of colour to the loom. That's just for starters. I've never seen any other brand do this. They also revived the original movement used in that watch to make all over again. Do you have any idea how nuts that is? Omega already has the very fine caliber 3861, which to 99.99% of people looks identical. But no, Omega went so far as to retrieve the original plans for the 321, retool and reproduce just for a small selection of watches. You might think the cost of such a thing would be incredibly prohibitive, and it's certainly not cheap, but to put it in perspective, it's ballpark Rolex Daytona. It just might be the perfect chronograph. How do you solve a problem like the Cold War? For our Lange Söhne, the problem was twofold: absorbed into government control during and then deposited back out the other end afterwards. Getting the general public to buy a luxury watch made in former Soviet-occupied East Germany was less a challenge and more just a silly idea. But bored genius Günter Blümlein decided that was exactly the kind of challenge he was after. His solution? The Lange 1. These days, there are poor imitations, but back then there was absolutely nothing like it. Bearing in mind, we're used to the idea of Swiss watchmaking divas putting complications on the dial wherever, for us unworthies to read as best we can. The idea of a dial designed for clarity, function, performance, and design was basically unheard of. People began to realize that the same obsessive drive that went into making the pendulous 911 one of the greatest driver's cars of all time was happening in Glashütte for watches at Lange with the Lange 1. The choice of the ultimate endgame watch is not easy. When the budget stretches up into the stratosphere, the challenge becomes even harder. Let's say, for example, you can't decide between horological hotshots H. Moser and MB&F, two legends of independent watchmaking, one very difficult decision. Or is it? Because making the decision for you is the Endeavour Cylindrical Tourbillon, a watch not made by one or the other, but both. Housed in a Moser case and punching your eye holes with a classic Moser fume dial, the watch blurs the lines between Moser's Tourbillon collection and the legacy machines of MB&F. There's a Tourbillon for sure, but here it's rendered like an exploded diagram, the usually flat balance spring stretched into a cylinder from top to bottom like a deranged slinky. And then there's a dial, a clear sapphire plate raised to a 45-degree angle, floating beneath the bulbous crystal. Why? Clues in the name. Endeavour is, after all, the single greatest human quality. An obsession with perfection leads down two paths. One ends in a straitjacket and a comfortable if bland room. The other to de Bethune's timekeeping dreamscapes. Both achieve a state of calm in their participants, but only one is portable enough to be worn on the wrist. This is the DB25 Starry Varius Chronometre Tourbillon, and it's an aspirin on a strap. The blued, polished titanium dial studded with white gold stars is ophthalmic diazepam, rendered with a flawlessness that gives the interstellar theme of the watch a sense of Ancient aliens. Did Denis Flageolet make this, or did he find it in a hidden room beneath a Mayan temple? The jury's out on that one, and they'll be outright vaporized when they see the tourbillon caliber inside. No prizes for guessing Denis' favourite TV show. It could be a movement, it could be a doomsday device, and whichever it is, it's riddled with silicon, titanium, and gold, hand-finished with all the love of a master craftsman / alien race looking to destroy all humans. So you want a watch to call it quits with that exhibits the finest display of craftsmanship, engineering and artistry physically possible. Then turn your attention away from Switzerland, away from Germany, and to the islands of Japan. It makes perfect sense. The Japanese mastered craftsmanship, engineering and art 12,000 years ago. The trifling matter of a constant force tourbillon is merely a brief inconvenience in this nation's epic journey, and that is very much apparent in the restrained presentation of the Codo by Grand Seiko. We did a thing, is the vibe I get. Yes, they did. This open-worked, multifaceted tesseract of a watch is as much a timekeeping device as it is a portal to another dimension. Mechanisms turning within mechanisms, until a little bit of blood trickles from my ear. If you're looking to find the pinnacle of watchmaking that'll scramble your brain into so fine a paste that the idea of getting another watch is enough to render you unconscious, this is it. This is the one. You've been warned. If you put it all on red, what would that watch be? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe, and don't forget to hang the toilet paper wall side. Goodbye. Still here? Watch this video next.